Hey guys, Bizzily here, and I only have one thing to say. Lightning. Golden godly energy to strike down your foes. And what better way to bring such divine judgment than miracles? They've been a staple in every single Souls game with varying degrees of success, since they always come off as the forgotten middle child of the magic types. Especially in this game with, well, we'll get to that later. But first, let's figure out, can you beat Dark Souls 3 with only miracles? But first, the rules. You can only damage enemies through miracles. In case there are no miracles that can be used, I'm allowed to do damage with my chime. 2. Shields can only be used for parrying or putting them on your back for specific buffs. 3. I must kill all bosses, because did you really do a challenge run if you didn't kill all the bosses? I chose the cleric because who really else was there to choose, and named him Adam to truly get myself in the mindset of being the first man. And I took a look at my spells, which are heal, that uses 45 FP to heal 300% of your spell buff, and force, a 26 FP spell to knock back enemies and deal 0 damage. Oh no. And we have already ran into a problem. Man, there has to be a world record for how fast something goes wrong. And that is that clerics don't start off with a miracle spell that does damage. In fact, you don't get a damaging miracle until Faron Keep. You know, something that is blocked off by 2 mandatory bosses. Yep, this is a great start to the run. So we will have to go back to rule 1, which means we have to kill 2 bosses with a chime. Yay! But okay, enough complaining. For now. I mean, Iduk's Gundyr is literally the first boss in the game, so while we won't do a lot of damage, it has to be passable. But wait! You can parry the boss. Surely the damage has to be a lot better. 4 extra points in damage, huh? But wait, we can't give up. There's one more thing we can do. If we put the chime in both of our hands, it will give us a strength buff and increase our damage, giving us a grand total of... I am not okay. The best strat for the first phase is just parry, 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 parry. Which sucks because it can be very inconsistent. And the fact we only have 3 healing flasks means we have a very small margin for mistakes. I tried to use the heal spell for more healing, but holy, does that take like 5 years to cast. And the boss just wouldn't let me, which is fair enough. But after enough attempts, like a lot of attempts, we finally learned the parry timing and reached second phase. It's a lot easier than first, with you only really needing to just stay behind him, and he can't really do anything to you. So as long as you don't mess up his jumping attack. Why does this game hate me? But after a lot more attempts, Gundyr finally goes down. Please God, tell me the next boss is going to be a lot easier. I then went and used my souls to put 3 points in the faith. I then did the tree skip. What? I then did the tree skip. Come on! I then did the tree skip, finally, to grab the Estus Shard and the covetous Silver Serpent Ring, so I can gain more souls. I then upgraded my healing and went to the High Wall of Lothric. So since we still don't have any spells, we basically have to make it through the entire area while not killing anything. I mean, we could use our chime, but come on. Which leads us to having to run past every single enemy, which you'd think wouldn't be that bad. Until you realize you get stunned to death and ganked up on while the enemies block your path. Like, doing this straight up doesn't allow you to use the midway bonfire, since the knight and the dagger hollow follow you up there blocking the bonfire. So I make it through the rest of the area, trying to grab as many Titanite shards and Estus shards before I inevitably die, but after a lot of deaths, we make it to Vort. And it in fact doesn't get any easier. with us doing a grand total of 8 damage. His first phase isn't all that bad. A lot of his attacks can just straight up whiff you, so just staying close is honestly a really good strategy. It's his second phase where all the problems show up. Like, okay, raise of hands. How many people actually know of Vort's second phase moveset? Probably not a lot of you, and that's probably because you never had to. The thing that makes Vort so easy is that he gets killed in about 2 seconds.
Nice throw!
But when you only do 8 damage and he can do your entire health bar in 1 hit, now you have to actually engage and deal with his moveset, which is pretty bad. Like, really, really bad. Like, why does your entire body become a hitbox when you swing? Why do you do so much damage? And why on God's green earth can your dash attack sometimes just be unreactable? So yeah, I went back to Andre to upgrade my flasks and make them all healing. And you may think, Bizzily, wouldn't you want to save some in case you wanted to use your heal spell? And all I have to say is, really? That's not happening. I also upgraded my chime to +1, which gave me a grand total of 10 damage. Oh god. What's worse is that Vort doesn't stagger. Not like Gundyr, where he'll fall over allowing you to deal extra damage. Vort more so flinches. So yeah, you're stuck with this damage. Unless you get counter damage, but that's unreliable. So after a lot of attempts and deaths that made me want to throw my controller across the room and the jump scare of a dash attack, Vort goes down. Finally. I then used the souls to put 3 points in the figure, grabbed the small banner, and went to the undead settlement. Since we need to go to Faron Keep, I rushed through the area grabbing upgrades for my weapons and flask, and made it all the way to the Road of Sacrifice, where I basically did the same thing, taking pit stops to grab the Sage Ring for better casting speed, Grass Crest Shield for the stamina recovery, and Fallen Knight set for the drip. I then finally made it to Faron Keep, grabbing as many goodies as I could. I then went ahead and lit all the towers for later. I then grabbed the Crown of Dusk, and now you want to hear something funny? I assumed that the Crown of Dusk boosts miracle damage because I played DS1, and it did there, but nope, it increases spell damage by 10%. What's even funnier is that it has a caveat of giving you -5 absorptions to spells. So basically, I was wearing a headpiece that nerfed my character. But how long did it take me to realize such a dumb mistake that could have been easily solved with a single Google search? Oh, only just the entire run! This just goes to show how little research was done into this video. I then grabbed another undead bone shard, grabbed the Dream Chaser's ashes for infinite Titanite shards, and finally grabbed our first miracle, Lightning Spear. But just why, FromSoft? Why do miracles have to wait so long for their first spell? I know they're supposed to be more of a support type magic, but come on! You couldn't have given the cleric something? The pyromancer starts off with a spell and a pyromancy boosting ring, and the sorcerer starts off with 2 spells. Really not beating the forgotten middle child allegations, huh, miracles? But anyways, enough complaining. Again, for now. After putting a point into faith to use the spell and 2 into attunement, let's test this baby out. Now that we actually have something that can actually do damage, things are going to turn in our favor. What? Yeah, so grand reveal, Lightning Spear is pretty bad. It takes 23 FP to cast and has a measly times 1.45 spell buff. It'll probably be a lot better later in the game, but with our pretty low phase stat, it does next to nothing. That is, if you shoot him from far away. For some ungodly reason, miracles are more of a melee spell in the fact that if you hit an enemy with a miracle at point blank range, it will do 75% more damage, which allows Lightning Spear to do something. I then upgrade my healing and then allocate my Estus. I'm not too used to using magic in my runs, so learning how much Estus I have to designate to FP will be a challenge. You could almost say this is a Dark Souls Miracles Only challenge video? Anyway, after some preparation, I then attempt the Stone Demon again. And just like before, we do next to no damage. Okay, fine, we'll come back to you later. How about the Curse-Rotted Greatwood? We really don't do that much damage, and I ended up running out of FP before beating the boss. I then made my Chime +2, gave the Handmaid the Dream Chaser's Ashes, and upgraded my healing, and rebalanced my Estus for the fight. I gave the fight a second go. It went about as well as you would expect. Fine, I'll do him later. I then bought the sewer key from the Handmaid, and made my way to Irina of Karim. Now, do you think the miracle vendor, you know, the person that sells you miracles, would be good for a miracle only run? But no, she only sells healing spells, which isn't all that useful to me, and spell balls, which we literally can't use. The only spell she can sell that kinda does damage is Nah, and you can literally just find a better version of it later in the game. So she is literally useless in this run. Cool. Awesome, FromSoft. Let's make miracles even worse. I then killed the demon with the Onion Knight so I can continue his quest line, and then No, I have to go all the way back? I then grabbed the Chloranthy Ring for more stamina recovery, upgraded my health, and went back to where I got Lightning Spear to get the 2 crystal lizards that I missed. And after buying Titanite shards from the Handmaid, I upgraded my Chime to +4. And after all those upgrades, I think I'm ready to fight the Stone Demon again. Wait, no, please let me go! Okay, adding on to the list of Bizzily, please do research for your videos. There was actually a ring that I forgot back on the Road of Sacrifices. After watching a dog jump to its death, I get my prize, the Morn's Ring, which increases miracle damage by 12%, and went back to the Stone Demon fight. And the ring helped a lot. All I did really was stay close to him trying to get the point blank damage, and with that, the Stone Demon goes down. Awesome! Let's keep this momentum. I then immediately went to take down the Curse-Rotted Greatwood, and thanks to all of our upgrades, our damage is passable. Not good, passable. What really sucks is that you can only lock onto his center pus balls on his front and back, so all the others you have to free aim, which can lead you to miss a lot and run out of FP. I then allocated most of my Estus to FP, while only having 2 healing flasks, which made me have to get really good at not taking damage, which, you know, I'm not very good at. But after a lot of trial and error and getting really good at free aiming, Curse-Rotted Greatwood goes down. After increasing my faith, I then went back to Faron Keep and immediately went to the Abyss Watchers. And come on, this fight should be easy. I mean, they have a minus 12% absorption to lightning, but it was a bit rough. The first problem in the first phase is finding one attacks I can actually use my miracles on. So many times I would use a miracle thinking he finished his attack only to get hit with another mid-animation. And once you get used to that, you get clotheslined by another Abyss Watcher off screen. The strat I found for this phase is to always blitz on the Abyss Watcher that was summoned, since he will go down in 3 or 4 shots, then gank the main Abyss Watcher when the enraged one comes up, and that lets us make it to phase 2. Again, more of the same with the first phase, just figuring out what moves I can use miracles on, and make sure that I come into this phase with enough FP to finish this boss. And the main thing I did in this phase was just run and take pot shots at him whenever he did a move. And after a long game of cat and mouse, the Abyss Watcher goes down. I then used the souls to upgrade attunements, so now we have 3 spell slots. Made my way to the catacombs of Karthus. I rushed my way through the area, grabbing upgrade materials for my weapons and flasks. Actually remembered to pull the lever for the shortcut. I then go down the bridge ladder and make my way to the Smoldering Lake. And this place is a great place for upgrade materials. So I go around collecting all the large Titanite shards. I then killed the large worm for our next miracle, Lightning Stake. He uses 34 FP and has a spell buff of 1.3 times. It's a really good close range miracle, with it doing a whopping 55% more damage than Lightning Spear at close range. I then go back to Firelink Shrine, use the Undead Bone Shard, and then realize that Lightning Stake requires 35 faith. Let's just add that to the list of, oh my god, Bizzily, please do some research for your run. I tried to use all my souls, but the highest I could get was 28 faith. Guess we'll just have to get it later. I then used the large Titanite shards to make my chime +6 and went and fought the old Demon King. And yeah, this fight is just not happening right now. He does way too much damage, I do way too little damage. Like seriously, if I'm not getting consistent point blank damage, I'm not doing any damage. What makes it harder is the fact that this guy has a fireball move that he can just follow up with whenever he feels like. Plus, the fact that his AoEs do way too much damage. Plus the fact that I would have to fight this guy with almost all my S's going to FP, I'm confident to say that it would be more beneficial that we fight this guy later. I then head over to the Road of Sacrifice and go and fight the Crystal Sage. The first attempt was going great, until I got quick comboed by his rapier into a crystal ball. What's even worse is that this took so many attempts. Every attempt there was always something. I would get hit with an unreactable crystal breath, or he would choose a set of spells that wouldn't allow me to do anything. And phase 2. Jesus, do not get me started on phase 2. First off, killing the clones was such a hassle. Usually you can kill the clones really quick with a fast weapon, but when you combine the lightning spear's range and casting speed, yeah, all of a sudden it becomes a lot harder to deal with the clones. And they would absolutely pelt you with the magic spells that even if they graze you, would do your entire health bar. That was the bad thing with this phase. Everything did so much damage. Man, if only I wasn't wearing a headpiece that lowered my magic absorption. Wouldn't that be neat? And after, come on, bro, really? You've got to be kidding me. I eventually got fed up and used all my souls, including the boss souls, that I didn't need, to level up my faith to 35 to use Lightning Stake. Going back to the boss, I definitely noticed we were doing a lot more damage. It didn't solve the survivability problem until I realized something. If I can't stay in phase 2 for too long or I die, how about we would just keep the boss from going to phase 2 or somehow delay it? Yeah, sometimes the boss just gets stunned out of his phase 2 transition, or he will start an attack animation right when he's supposed to transition. So if I could just get a run where he transitioned to second phase when he's already at low health, I could easily beat him. And after a bunch of attempts, I finally get a run where he transitions into second phase late. I did my best to damage him through the clones. In finding him one shot away from death, I did a Hail Mary to kill him. And it paid off! Crystal Sage down. I then changed my attire to the Fallen Knight set, got mauled by dogs, and made it to the bonfire in the cathedral. I then go and grab the Saint Tree Bellvine, which when held in the offhand improves casting speed, so we will be switching the Grass Crest shield for this. I then go around collecting upgrade materials for my weapons and my flask. After grabbing the Undead Bone Shard, I then made my way inside the cathedral. After dodging a giant, I grabbed the Lloyd's Sword Ring, which gives you a 10% damage buff when at full HP, perfect for someone who likes to play keep away. I then ran through the entire area and made my way to the Deacons of the Deep. Nothing much to say. The fight was pretty simple, since Lightning Stake is the perfect counter for this, since the spell thrives when dealing with a group of enemies. So after bringing down Divine Judgment on the head of the priest, the Deacons go down. I then used the souls to buy the Tower Key to go meet Patches. And he should be... Wait, where is he? He's supposed to be here. Oh, that's where he is. Give me a moment. I then go to Patch's questline, bought the chest piece Katarina armor, and then go through the rest of his questline to meet him back in Firelink. Now, we need to buy the rest of the Katarina armor for Secret's questline, but I'm currently suffering from the disease called being broke, so we need a quick way to get a bunch of souls. But how? Oh! Old Demon King! Perfect timing. We now do more damage with our 35 faith than our Lightning Stake. But we still need to deal with the fireball attacks and being careful not to get hit by his hammer and flames. And through my attempts, I gave up on trying to get close to him, and fell back on my secret strategy called running away like a coward and shooting him from afar. Hey man, whatever gets me the win. And when he does his final explosion attack, the battle is already over. Old Demon King down. I then used the souls to buy the rest of the Katarina set, went back to the cathedral so I can give it to Sigurd to continue his quest. I then went back to the catacombs of Kartas to fight High Lord Wolnir. Nothing much happened, used Lightning Stake to take down the first 2 bracelets, but he was low-key puppy guarding that last bracelet, like, for a while. Like, seriously, can you take your arm out of the fog so I can hit it? But once he puts it in clear view, it doesn't take long for us to break High Lord Wolnir down.
Yes, you! I shall get my revenge!
Huh. Every time I kill this guy, I hear something, but I can never decipher what it is. I then used the souls to upgrade Faith and Attunement and went to Ithral of the Boreal Valley. I then went through the area, grabbing an undead bone shard on the way, and then rushed all the way to Sigurd. After talking to him, he gave me my next miracle, Emit Force, a miracle that does physical damage. It does 1.2 times spell buff on direct hits and 0.6 times spell buff with the blast radius. This should be useful against the bosses that are more resistant to lightning. I then grabbed the Ring of the Sun's Firstborn, which increases miracle damage by 20%, and went and fought Pontiff Sullivan. Now, Pontiff was weirdly difficult. I mean, the strat was just stay away from him and spam Lightning Spear, but doing that was pretty difficult actually, since he has a lot of things that allows him to close the distance. And again, learning what moves I could damage him on was a challenge, which led to me getting comboed and dying. Something I forgot you can do is you're able to stack miracle boosting rings. I guess the reason that I forgot this is because I'm so used to not being able to stack rings that have the same effect. And thanks to this, it actually made my damage pretty good. Now I just have to learn his moves, which is still a challenge. Like even just trying to heal or get FP back is a challenge, because if I don't try to do it right after he does an attack, then he'll just leap over and smack me in the face when I try and do it. But once we get past that, we get to second phase. It was a little easier since I had a ghost to telegraph his attacks, and the fact that I could use his window when he's summoning the ghost to hit him with a lightning stake. And after some dodging and a bit of tears, come on, Pontiff finally goes down. I then used the souls to increase my faith and grab some materials. I then went back and grabbed another miracle called Dorothy's Gnawing. This miracle does dark damage, approximately 1.2 times spell buff, and does bleed. I then made my way to Anor Londo and made my way to Yorshka.
If thou'st come stumbling here in error, I bid thee leave anon.
I am so sorry.
Forgive me.
I then pick up Yorshka's chime. Hey, it's not my fault they locked the best chime for miracles behind her death. Don't look at me like that. But right now it's +0, so we can't really do anything. So I take the time to go around and collect a bunch of large Titanite shards to make the chime +6. I then used an Estus shard, made my faith 40, and went and fought Aldrich, Devourer of Gods. He wasn't too hard. Oh, come on. No, but seriously. Since miracles really excel at being close range for some reason, and he doesn't really have any defense for me staying right next to him, so I just watch out for his magic and spam lightning stake until he died. Aldrich down. I used the souls to upgrade my character and went to Ithriel Dungeon. Man, this area always sucks to run through. I did get this funny clip on the Mimic. Get baited. You just got baited by the #1 master baiter. Bizzily, please edit that out the video. I then grabbed the Estus shard, killed a Mimic, and got the Symbol of Avarice. Man, I sure hope this isn't foreshadowing to something. I then grabbed the Old Cell Key and made my way to the Profane Capital. I then went through the back alleys of the Profane Capital to grab our next miracle, Wrath of the Gods. Another miracle that does physical damage. It takes 40 FP to cast and does times 3.2 spell buff, and does an AoE around the player. Again, a good miracle for a boss that's resistant to lightning. I then upgraded my healing and allocated my Estus for more FP and fight Yorm the Giant. Now Yorm is usually a huge roadblock in a lot of runs, since a lot of challenges don't allow for the use of Storm Ruler, but Yorm is actually really susceptible in magic runs, especially this run since he has a -12% absorption to lightning. And also the fact that he can stagger really easily if you hit his head. So just hit his head a lot with Lightning Spear and he'll stagger. And once he does stagger, he takes an enormous amount of damage. So the game plan is simple. Run away and just hit him in the head. Just make sure not to miss too many times because his head can be weirdly mobile. And if you miss too many Lightning Spears, you just straight up lose the fight. But once I learn all the moves that I can consistently get headshots on, Yorm goes down. I then used the souls to upgrade my attunement to 4 spell slots and then went and transposed Aldred's soul for a miracle I forgot called the Life Hunt Scythe. It does dark damage and actually has the special quirk of if you hit an enemy with it, you regain some of your HP. I will never use this. I then went and fought the dancers and she wasn't that hard. I didn't really go into this boss fight with a plan. I just kind of spammed Lightning Snake in the first phase and then in the second phase, not really knowing her moveset, I opted to just stay back and throw lightning spears. And while I did get really close, I clutched out the win. Haha, not even close. I went to the Consume King's Garden, grabbed some upgrades for my flask and some Titanite chunks, and went and fought Osiris. The thing is, Osiris is a boss in a water area, and miracles do more damage if an enemy is in water. Yeah, he didn't live for too long after that. I then used the souls to increase my faith and made my chime +7. I then went back and grabbed the Way of the Dragon emote and went to the unintended graves. After proving that miracles are better than magic, I then fought Champion Gundyr. He wasn't too bad either. Just gotta keep my distance and watch out for the halberd. And since he also has water in his arena, he didn't live for too long either. Gundyr down. Man, 3 bosses done just like that? Maybe this is the turning point in the game where miracles become good. Good, let's keep this momentum. I then grabbed the Eyes of the Firekeeper and gave it to her at Firelink Shrine. Alright, time for Lothric. I went through the area, grabbing Titanite chunks and making sure not to get cooked by dragons, and after dying to a 2 feet tall drop, literal RPG logic, I made it to the top. I then grabbed the Sunlight Medal and ran around the back to gain access to the Sunlight Altar. Now, I'm gonna need to sit down when I say this. There is another miracle you can get in Lothric Castle, called Great Lightning Spear, and you get it by giving the Sunlight Altar Sunlight Medals. Now, you may be asking, Bizzily, how do you get Sunlight Medals? And you would usually get them by going into people's worlds and helping them beat a boss, or by killing an invader. But the problem is, this game is a bit old, and because of that, there aren't a lot of people who need help beating bosses. And now lies the question, how do we get Sunlight Medals if there aren't any people to help beat bosses? And luckily, From Software already thought of that and left an alternative way to get Covenant items. It's just a lot more brutal. But before we go into that, let's grab some materials we need. I head back to the Profane Capital, and going back to the back alleys, I made it to Sigurd's cell and grab not only the Titanite slab he gives you, but the Covenant's Gold Serpent Ring, which increases item discovery, and we head back to Lothric. Alright, time to rip the band-aid off. So the alternative method that FromSoft put in the game is that Covenant items can be farmed from certain enemies. The only problem with this is that the chances are super low. Like 2% chance low. I don't know exactly how much that gets increased with our Symbol of Avarice and Covenant's Gold Serpent Ring, but it can't be by much. But you may be thinking, okay, those chances are pretty bad. But how many of these things do we actually need? Oh, my sweet dear viewer. To get Great Lightning Spear, you need 30 Sunlight Medals. Yep, there it is. 30 Sunlight Medals are needed to get Great Lightning Spear. Technically, we only need 29 because of the one we picked up at the beginning. But still, that is a lot of medals to farm with each of them only having a 2% drop rate. I went and made my chime +10 so I can kill these Lothric Knights faster. But no more stalling. This is gonna take a while. my god. This took forever. The worst parts were the long stretches of farming where you would just get nothing. You would kill this knight like 40 times and you would just get absolutely nothing, dude. This had to be one of the most monotonous things I've ever done in my life, bro. I now know 1% of the pain of the Blade of the Dark Moon and Blue Sentinel farmers, bro. If you want a better representation of how long this took, look at my soul count before and after I was done farming. Yep, you read that right. I gained over 2 million souls farming this guy. If that's not a good enough representation, how about we look through the mountain of items I have? I have 73 Lothric Knight helms, 56 Lothric Knight armor, 59 Lothric Knight gauntlets, 41 Lothric Knight leggings, 65 Lothric Knight swords, 57 crossbows, and 49 Lothric Knight shields. Yeah, so it's a lot. I then donated all my sunlight medals to finally get the Miracle Great Sunlight Spear, which is just a direct upgrade to Lightning Spear. You know, if the word great didn't already give that away. It costs 32 FP to cast and deals 1.85 times spell buff. So yeah, it's just stronger than Lightning Spear. Thank you, Lightning Spear. It sucks that you have to be buried like this when you were the very thing that gave this run any legs. And I thank you for all the service you have given me. May you be given an honorable burial. I then go back to Firelink Shrine to dump my over 2 million souls, and it allowed me to level up 46 times. I ended up putting 8 points into Vigor, 17 points into Attunement, allowing me to have 6 spell slots, 6 points into Endurance, and 15 points into Faith. But before we continue, there's one more thing I have to do, and I have to go to Dragonland. After I arrive at Archdragon Peak, I go through the area to get my prize, the Lightning Clutch Ring, which will increase our lightning damage by 15% at the caveat of lowering our absorption by 10%. We'll be replacing Lord's Soul Ring with this, so now we get the buff all the time instead of just at full HP. I head back to Lothric Castle and fight the Dragon Slayer armor, and with our new Great Lightning Spear, this fight is gonna be easy! Oh. Yeah, so turns out this guy has a 72% absorption on lightning. Man, who would have thought that the guy who literally produced lightning would be resistant to it, huh? I tried to brute force a fight with lightning spells, which didn't lead to a good result, until I realized, wait, Emit Force does physical damage. Maybe it will do more damage. And sure enough, it did. The only problem is how slow the miracle is to cast. I almost went back to lightning spells until I tried Wrath of the Gods, and oh my god, this thing does damage. I mean, I know it's slow, but come on, it does over 600 damage and it bats away his shield. After a few more Wrath of the Gods, Dragon Slayer goes down. I went through the Grand Archives. Nothing interesting really happened here, just grabbed the Undead Bone Shard. After bullying 3 NPCs, I faced off against these Angel Knights. Jesus Christ, why are these guys so strong? After clearing them out, I grabbed the Estus Shard, went into the tower, and grabbed the Divine Pillars of Light, a miracle that deals 1.9 times spell buff and is basically the miracle equivalent to Firestorm with how it summons pillars around the player. I then went and upgraded my flask, and now that the preparations are done, let's bring some Divine Judgment to these brothers. Alright, just gotta hit him with the Great Lightning Spear and... oh my god! So turns out Lorien has a minus 20% absorption to lightning. For some reason? Is this supposed to be a part of the lore? Did Lorien get struck by lightning as a kid? Anyways, second phase. I was having a bit more trouble. Why? I couldn't tell you. Like, how am I losing to someone who literally has a weakness to lightning? I think I know why. It's because I was trying to be quirky and give other spells a chance, and I was flubbing a lot of my runs because I wanted to give Divine Pillars of Light a chance. But then I realized that that miracle takes like a year and a half to cast. Also, it was hard to one-cycle Lorien because he has a little resistance to spells. but I eventually got a run where I used Lightning Spear for Lorien, and then would hit Lothric with a Wrath of the Gods, and rinse and repeat until Twin Princes go down. I then used the Souls Upgrade attunement and put all the lords on their thrones. I then went to the Kiln of the First Flame and fought the Soul of Cinder. Time to show this guy who the real heir of Gwyn is. First phase was simple, just ran away and took pot shots at him, and that gets us to phase 2. Is more of the same. I just have to watch out for his lunges and thrusts and counterattack with my own spells. He tried to intimidate me with his Sunlight Spear, but I showed him the real power of Great Lightning Spear. And after me and the Soul of Cinder got finished measuring each other's Lightning Spear, Soul of Cinder goes down. I then let the fire keep will stifle the flame, and then got back to the Firelink Shrine. Now the reason that I killed Soul of Cinder early is because you can transpose his soul for a really good miracle called Sunlight Spear, a direct upgrade to Great Lightning Spear. Man, I'm so happy that I spent all that time getting Great Lightning Spear, only to use it against 3 bosses. Yay! Sunlight Spear does lightning damage for 2.6 times spell buff, so yeah, it is just a direct upgrade to Great Lightning Spear, and allows us to be the true replacement for Gwyn. Well, time to rush through the rest of the bosses. I went back to Archdragon Peak and fought the Ancient Wyvern. Now you are usually supposed to hit him with a plunging attack to one-shot him, but Miracles can't do that. Luckily, lightning is the only thing he doesn't have a heavy resistance to. And with our brand new Sunlight Spear, and the fact that hitting his head does way more damage, we just spam Sunlight Spear until he dies. I then rushed my way through the rest of the area and made my way to the Nameless King. We first have to beat the King of Storm first, but luckily he's a dragon, and dragons are really allergic to lightning. Like, Jesus Christ, I just obliterated that thing. And now it's time for the Nameless King. Sadly, he won't be as simple since he has a whopping 83% absorption to lightning. Man, I wonder why. So I'm back to using Immense Force and Wrath of the Gods for this fight, but he just felt so tanky. Like, even Immense Force and Wrath of the Gods felt like they weren't doing anything to him. And that made the fight feel like it was taking 5 years. But his attacks are simple to dodge, so as long as I don't flub it up. Oh, come on. But after a long fight of spamming Immense Force and getting some Wrath of the Gods in there too, Nameless King goes down. Heading back to Firelink Shrine, you can actually transpose Nameless King's soul for another lightning miracle, called Lightning Storm. It's a miracle that has an initial shock explosion and then a shock wave that travels around you. It deals 2.35 times spell buff on the initial explosion and 1.45 times spell buff for the shock wave. This should be good if you're getting surrounded by a group of enemies. I then talked to Papa Gale and head over to the DLC. I then went through the area, killing the big wolf twice on the way. I then went down the bridge ladder and then fought the champion Gravetender. Fighting him is a challenge because he is an NPC fight, and a funny thing they like to do is input read your spells and dodge out the way. He wasn't doing it at the start, he was just tanking the hits at first, but when the wolf showed up, he just started dodging all my Sunlight Spears, which led to me dying. It was so aggravating that I said screw it and just decided to kill the wolf first. It's not like he can do much to stop me, since I can just keep my distance from him, and all he has is a soul arrow, and once the wolf goes down, the Gravetender is pretty defenseless. Champion Gravetender down. I then went to the town, climbed up, and went into the church, and after killing the crows, we get our next miracle called Way of White Corona. It's bad. It's really bad. Just don't use it. Like, I'm not even going to give you an in-depth analysis on this. Just don't use it. I then fight Sir Wilhelm, and after spamming some... Wait, what? Oh, what? I didn't know he could use silence. Does it go away? Okay, thank God. And then finished him off with a Sunlight Spear. I then went through the rest of the area, narrowly avoiding death to flies, and pulled the lever. And now it's time for the Sister Frida fight. Her first phase isn't too bad, just the same old shoot from a distance strat, and that leads us to phase 2. Where I did get caught off guard by her ice moves. Like, come on, Bizzily. But second try went much smoother. I just sat next to the father guy and spammed Sunlight Spear. And now it's time for, surprise, third phase. It was a little dangerous with a lot of her moves and dark attacks leaving me at low HP, making me have to be very intentional about my dodging. But after sitting back and shooting her from a distance, Sister Frida goes down. I then used the souls to upgrade attunement and went to the Drike Heap. Nothing really happened as I went through, other than getting shot down by some turret in the sky. I can't believe this is a nerfed version of the Angels. They were even stronger than this on release. I then dropped down and fought the Twin Demons. I tried to use Dorothy's 9 because they are weak to bleed, and it was doing something, but not really as much as I hoped, so I fell back on using Sunlight Spear, which did much more damage. I made sure to kill the demon from below last because I have an easier time with this moveset, and fought the Demon Prince. I did end up flubbing my first attempt because I was just not used to his moveset. Like, why does every attack have a shockwave? But second attempt was a lot smoother. I just dodged his attacks and stayed close to him, trying to get the point blank damage of Sunlight Spear, and after a bit, Demon Prince goes down. I then went on the Demon Airlines. Come on guys, I don't even got any television on here? And made it to the Ring City. After narrowly avoiding my public execution, I then ran through the rest of the area till I met Madeir. Yo, Madeir! Okay, so I know you didn't like the paper cuts that I gave you, but I just know you will love this golden lightning rod that I have for you. Man, if you didn't like it, you could have just said it. Man, some people are just so insensitive. After going through the 3 illusionary walls, I grab our final miracle, Lightning Arrow. It's a lightning miracle. Wow, lightning arrow. It's a lightning miracle. You know what? I'm keeping that in the script. The spell deals 1.6 times spell buff and is a cool looking bow and arrow made out of lightning. You can even hold it to shoot it later. I then went into the church and fought Half-Life, Spear of the Church. He wasn't bad at all. I did get this little scare in the middle of the fight, but after remembering that dying is gay, but then I realized the true reason why this boss sucks. It's because he's an NPC, which means he can roll through my attacks. And right when I was about to kill him, he started to roll through all my lightning arrows. Like, bro, please stay still so I can kill you. But I eventually caught him in an animation, so Half-Life down. I then immediately went and fought Dark Eden Madeir. It wasn't too hard, you know the drill. Dragons being allergic to lightning and easy access to close range damage on his head leads to a boss that doesn't live for too long. But I will say, killing these dragons with lightning makes me feel like Ornstein in his prime. Madeir down. And then, there was one. Well, time to put the curtains on this miracle run. I run up the stairs, break the egg, and get sent to the end of everything for our final challenge, Gale. He wasn't that bad. He's just a tanky boy with a lot of health. But it wasn't like I could just sit far away and spam Sunlight Spear. I still had to actually engage with his moveset because of how many ways he can close the distance, especially in his second phase, because, wow, that crossbow does some damage. If only the crossbow we got was half as good. But after he goes third phase, it's just remembering how to dodge his moves and finding windows to attack in between them. And after a long endurance fight, Gale goes down. And that is Dark Souls 3 beaten with only miracles. Another run that was really fun and really surprised me. Seeing miracles go from being really bad to absolutely obliterating bosses was a nice surprise. It also surprised me by the amount of bosses that had a lightning weakness or resistant, which was nice to see. And who knows, maybe this will push me to do a miracle run in other Dark Souls games. Anyways, I really appreciate everyone who came and watched the video, and if you have any challenge ideas you want me to do, leave them in the comments, whether it be from this game or any other Souls-like in general. I am planning on doing challenge runs from other games, but what those games are, you'll just have to wait and see. And as always, if you like this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and have a great day!